As you can see, we're wearing our new hats, Chasing Wild Outdoors. We got our website up and running. We got apparel on there, and currently we're doing a giveaway. For every $5 spent on the store, you're going to get an entry in to win a CuddeLink system. There's one cell camera and 2 remote cameras in the package. It's over $550 value. If you want to get set up with a system that's actually going to email you pictures, you can check your trail cameras from your phone or on a computer sitting at your house or at work. Just go to our store, buy some real nice hats. We got t-shirts, decals. Check it out. Every $5 spent will get you 1 entry into win CuddeLink system. So go to the website, check it out. Forgot to tell you, the link to the store is going to be in the description below. Click the link, head to the store, buy some sweet hats, possibly win yourself a Cuddeback CuddeLink system. Today's August 23rd and I'm heading down into this farm. I haven't been here in probably about a month. Checking on 2 different cameras. One's actually a cell camera. It's been texting me some pictures, but pretty much all doe. I don't think I've got an antlered buck on that camera at all. And the camera that I had in there with it, it's not a cell camera, but I set it out for about a month ahead of time. It was all doe. The reason I'm even on this farm is historically it was a great farm. Back in 2017 I was set up. I was about to have probably my best archery season ever. I had probably at least 4 or 5 or maybe even 6 shooter bucks on this farm, and they were coming through in daylight in the morning, great patterns, all the way right up until first part of September. And as anybody knows, in western Pennsylvania 2017 we got crushed with the EHD. End up finding out through just neighbors talking and then monitoring cameras, every single one of those bucks ended up dying. That season 2017 was a rough one. Ended up not seeing any shooter bucks at all, especially on that farm. It was pretty much void of all bucks in general. But I had some huge bucks that were coming through there. So some that actually had some pretty good history with 2 years. Some, I think there was a buck on there 3 years worth of history. So I knew that if I got pictures of them, they were going to be here in the fall. So I was really pumped for 2017, but they all kind of, well, they fell to EHD, and then I didn't really have anything to hunt. But just as a lesson for everybody is, historically farms can be really good, and then there could be something that just changes and you end up with void of any good bucks. Here we are 2020 and I've yet to get an antlered buck on camera on this whole entire farm. So it's kind of disheartening, as good as this farm used to be, that it's not holding bucks anymore. Now I keep running cameras every year here, hoping that eventually the bucks are going to come back. So we're 3 years removed from EHD. I was hoping some bucks would come back, but that's not the case. Still a bunch of doe. I'll probably move back in here end of October, November, see if any scrapes pop up. May catch a buck traveling, because there's still some resident doe, and maybe some outside bucks will move in. But kind of disheartening that a great farm that you once had turns into nothing. So just as a rule for you guys, or a tip I guess, that even though you had a great farm, it doesn't always mean that that's always going to be good. So you still got to go in and do your scouting and check in on things. If you just show up for the hunting season and hunt, and then just wonder, oh, I don't know what happened, this used to be great, obviously something's changed. So this farm here used to be great, something changed, and now it's pretty much just all doe. Unless something special is on this other camera that's not a cell, I'll probably pull both of these cameras. So they've been here for over 2 months and I haven't got a antlered buck. So go down here and check them, and if I don't get something special, I'll be carrying the cameras back out. Well, as you can tell, got the cameras. Obviously no big surprise, does and fawns. So we're gonna take these cameras, take them somewhere more productive. But like I said, I'll probably be back here end of October, November. Check for some scrape activity along this field edge up top here, and probably stick a camera out. But as far as the early season, most October, we're probably going to just avoid this farm completely. But I like to pop in here at some point in the season and at least shoot a doe or two, so help the landowner, keep the doe population down, and I don't know, do your part in conservation. But as far as bucks, this farm is a no-go for early season. So I moved on to a different farm here, and this one's got a decent bit of agriculture on it. Right to my left here, you can see these beans, and in an area, they're probably only, I don't know, foot tall maybe. Definitely got some serious browse pressure on them. You can see all the tops are all nipped off. So I came down this edge, found a pretty decent trail over my shoulder back in there. Trail's coming out over my shoulder right here, and hung up another camera there. So whatever's coming out in these beans, we'll pick them up, and hopefully they stay on this pattern until the opener. We're still a little over a month out, so a lot can happen in a month, but at least if we know they're in here, we can kind of stay with them and then either get on them first thing, or hopefully they'll stay around into the fall. So we're down off that bean field now. Followed some trails off the edge of it down into the woods, kind of figure out where they're coming from. And you can see over my right shoulder right here, it's a pretty serious trail that then hooks and goes up that bean field. Hung this camera here, and then actually right to the right of that, there's another trail. And let me turn this camera around. So, pretty good trail there as well. Hopefully we can get them walking in front of this camera here and snag a picture, try to get an idea where they're actually coming from. Behind me, this heavy trail is actually leading off the property that I'm allowed to hunt. It's onto the neighbors. I don't know, we're probably 40-50 yards off the property line right here. But it'd give us a pretty good idea if they're staying on the property or if they're coming from the neighbors. So that'll be a good tip off on where they're coming from. So just putting the time in here, casting the net out, and trying to find out where one of these big ones are. So I came down even farther into the woods, and I'm following this drainage, and I'm on this creek crossing now, and I did not know this was down here, but look at that crossing. It's like it's just straight up mud. You can see some pretty good tracks in there as well. So seems like a pretty sweet spot to be, and obviously put a camera right back here, so we're gonna catch them as they cross this creek crossing, and put another piece to the puzzle. Well, I got down in here, found what I was looking for. There's this old fence line. You can kind of tell that the trees are different along this line, but in spring turkey we were hunting around and came across this right here, and it was actually still, you could tell it was a scrape from last year. They got an overhanging branch here they were using as a licking branch, and the ground was still kind of bare. It doesn't look like they've really hit it lately. Looks like there might be some tracks through it, but I had lost it. Ian actually told me, oh, you should put that on Onyx so you don't lose it. I said, oh no, I know where it's at. Well, I put cameras out one weekend and I tried to find it and I couldn't find it, so should have listened in and just punched it into Onyx, but I didn't.
Wait a second, what did he say?
Should have listened in and just punched it into Onyx, but I didn't. But found it now, punched it in Onyx. I'll be back here in October or so and check this out, see if they open it up, and this would be a great spot to hang a camera to monitor what kind of bucks are working this edge line here, and if we get anything coming through on regular, checking this scrape, we can slide in. Tons of trees around here we can jump in and do a hang hunt. But anyhow, wanted to come in here, find this, mark it on Onyx, which I did now, which I should have done when Ian said so, but got it marked out, just checked it. Not really much activity. I'm not gonna hang a camera yet, but I'll be back probably about a month, and I'll hang one in here, see what we got. Well, I stopped in here at the farm where I got this food plot put in. It's a clover plot, frost seeded it back in early spring, and actually got a camera back here in this corner, and it's linked into a CuddeLink system. and I haven't been getting any pictures on it, and I was like, what the heck's going on? But what I can tell you is it must be just out of the range of the camera where they're eating. You can see the browse on this. I mean, they're going at the clover. So deer are definitely in here. They're just out of the range. Closer to the camera isn't as nice a clover, and there must just be just out of the range of the detection of that camera, and I'm not picking them up. So I'm gonna have to come up with like a stick pick or a T-post or something and move that camera off that tree, because the first, I don't know, 20 feet, 30 feet of that isn't as nice of clover as what's out here away from it. And if I move it out, I'll definitely be getting some pictures. But I got to keep this camera here because it's linked into the system, and I got cameras on both sides, so it's kind of being used as a repeater along with being a camera. So I need to leave it here, but I need to come up with a T-post and slide it out into the field or on the edge of the field pointing back at the trees, because they're definitely in here. I'm just missing them. So just a tip, if you're not getting anything on your cameras, they might just be out of range. So I can tell they're eating the clover, it's all nipped off, they're just out of range. So I need to readjust the camera. Well, I came up this ridge, and I knew there was a trail here from last year, and during a rut I found it, and there really wasn't anything really coming through here on a rut, but this might be more of an early season thing. This is only the second year on this farm really hunting, and I found this trail in here. It kind of goes through this thick stuff. I don't know really if this is bedding area or not. I'm in between here, probably 500 yards up ahead of me is a field. I don't know if they bed in there in the early season, late in the year. I really never jumped any deer in any of this, but behind the camera it goes out to a whole bunch of ground, bunch of public ground, and that gets pressured pretty good. So I think possibly they could be bedding behind the camera in the early season before they get all bumped around, and they might be coming through here in the early season heading to the food, so I can catch them there. But I never ran a camera here in the early season before, so kind of guessing on this one here. Hopefully it'll pay off and find a buck coming off of the public on the private, and I can try to snag him before he gets up into the fields. So I just got done checking this camera right here, and actually picked up two bucks that I've been watching. One pretty big 8, got a kind of crooked brow tine, and then looks like a younger deer. I think he's a mainframe 8. Got a split 3 on the right hand side. Be a cool deer. If he makes another year, might throw some real junk on him. But they're coming from behind the camera. Let me spin around for you. So they're coming from behind the camera out this ridge. There's some oaks out on this ridge here, and then I think it drops over into some thicker stuff. But I caught them coming from there, heading out to the food source. So I think they're possibly bedded out there. Wasn't real consistent, but to cover everything with a camera is kind of unrealistic. So a lot of times if you don't get them, I don't think it's so much that they're not coming past, but they're just skirting. On this ridge here, there's multiple trails. I mean, I could probably set up 10 different cameras in a 100-yard stretch here to try to hit all these trails. So don't get discouraged if they're not always coming by your camera. There's multiple trails, and you know it as sitting in a tree stand. They meander around and really don't take the same trail all the time. So well, I just got done repositioning my CuddeLink cell camera. The 2 other cameras have been sending some pictures. Obviously they're sending it through this camera, but this unit itself hasn't actually been taking that many pictures itself. So I moved it out of the woods up to the edge of this field here, and behind me we got some corn, or actually behind the camera you got some corn, and you can see where they're running through here, and they're actually going in the corn. A bunch of the stalks are broke open. So hopefully we can catch them up here. Obviously we only had it about 15 yards behind me, and it wasn't getting that much action, so a little bit of a tweak. Well, that wraps up today's scouting mission. Just got the final camera hung up here. We're on the back corner of this cornfield, and then behind the camera kind of runs into some thick overgrown, I think it was pasture at one time. But pretty solid day of scouting and hanging cameras. Found some stuff I didn't know existed around here. some heavy trails, some crossings, hung up cameras there, so hopefully those will result in some pretty good pictures. But feeling pretty good going into the season. Still got over a month left before it opens up, so we'll be back in to check these obviously before the season opens. But if you like what you're watching, subscribe to the channel, like the videos. If you have anything you want to hear us talk about or want to see us film, hit us up with a comment in the description down below, or even go on Instagram or Facebook and hit us up there. Tell us what you like, what you don't like. If there's topics you want us to cover, let us know. We'll be more than happy to carry around the camera and tell you about that. Thanks a lot.